Soybeans futures plunging nearly 5% today, on track for their worst day since July of 2017. It follows a U.S. Department of Agriculture report that's raising the outlook for the soybean harvest for the 2018-2019 crop year. The USDA also projecting exports for the year will hit a record high, despite ongoing trade tensions with China. We're joined now by Christopher Gibbs. He and his family own and operate 560 acres of Ohio farmland, raising soybeans, corn, hay, and cattle. So, Chris, what do you think? Does this USDA report take into account China's retaliatory tariffs on U.S. soybeans?
Well, what it shows is a couple different things. We've got a big crop out there, and the market knows that. But over time, we've traded with China, and I'm not sure the market's taking that into account at this time.
I was on a North Dakota soybean farm just a couple weeks ago, and we were talking there about the fact that if you're actively working to open new markets in China, and all of a sudden you've got the tariffs, it's not just the fact that the tariffs raise the prices for Chinese consumers. There's also political pressure that comes on these guys, these importers, not to look at America. Who are the top competitors for your soybeans to export them overseas?
Well, we can export to the EU as well, but China has been our #1 market for soybeans. 30% of our soybeans go to China, and the effect of the trade war has been very devastating on soybean farmers here. We've taken a 20% drop in price, and what we're seeing with market action today only exacerbates the fact that we have lost our #1 customer because of the trade wars. And I'll tell you what, back in 1985, when we were awash in crops, the agriculture community got busy and they traveled around the world and made market relationships with multiple different countries. And China was our #1 hit, where we wanted to make sure we took care of that emerging market because we saw where the potential was.
Okay.
And now, go ahead.
Well, go ahead. No. So now, and those markets take time to build. Is it just going to be gone overnight?
Well, that's the fear, and that's one fear. And see, we've seen this movie before. And back in 1980, when Jimmy Carter put the embargo on the USSR because of their invading Afghanistan, the U.S. became, at that point, an unreliable supplier in the eyes of the nation, or excuse me, the eyes of the world. So other world suppliers and other world markets started to look around for a different supplier. And you can draw a direct link from Brazil now being the #1 producer of soybeans in the world over the United States. You can draw a direct link all the way back to that embargo and the U.S. becoming an unreliable supplier. This is the fear that we have out here in agriculture country, that we're going to become an unreliable supplier.
Chris, the president has authorized $12 billion of aid to help you guys out while this is going on. How much do you think you're going to get of that, and is it enough?
Yeah, I have no idea. We don't have any idea because that has not been announced from USDA. Certainly that $12 billion, a portion of it is going to come directly to farmers.
How much would you need?
Other of it, gee whiz, to make up $2 on my farm, about $25,000.
You think you'd get that much?
Have no idea. Have no idea. The rules haven't been announced, so I think they're coming out September 1st with a sign up. But I can't see that the taxpayers would fund us in that amount, particularly with a policy where this is a self-inflicted pain by our own government, and which drew retaliation from the Chinese and then lowered our prices.
Why do you think there hasn't been more political outcry from, these regions that supported Trump when he was running for election?
Well, listen, I voted for President Trump. Our county voted for President Trump, and certainly for most of agriculture voted for President Trump because he was a can-do guy. He acted like he could get some things done, and that's true. What we didn't realize was that we were going to be put on the front lines of this trade war, and that we were going to demonize our #1 customer. Now, to be fair, certainly China's been a bad actor in a number of different areas, whether it's manufacturing, whether it's technology, all of that. And as patriots, we are, farmers, we get it. But one agriculture writer, I think, put it just right. He said this: agriculture is willing to take a black eye for this, but they're not willing to take a broken arm. And right now, I've got a cracked pelvis, I think, just from getting my butt kicked based on these prices.